In 1969, the United States Air Force closed its 17-year investigation into UFOs. They had collected 12,618 sighting reports, and their final public conclusion was blunt. There was no threat to national security and absolutely zero evidence of advanced technology. Case closed. Yet, buried inside those same government archives is a glaring mathematical contradiction. Exactly 701 of those cases remain classified strictly as unidentified, reports that withstood the most stringent military analysis of the 20th century and still defied explanation. To understand why those 701 files exist, we must go back to the summer of 1952. Over several weeks in July, air traffic controllers in Washington, D.C. tracked multiple unknown targets directly over the U.S. Capitol, while pilots and ground crews reported seeing bright, hovering objects. The Air Force immediately scrambled interceptor jets to defend the restricted airspace. But the pilots reported chasing targets that easily outran them, performing vertical drops and rapid accelerations that completely outmaneuvered conventional aircraft. The Washington sightings triggered a wave of civilian panic. A flood of new UFO reports began jamming critical intelligence channels right in the middle of the Cold War, threatening the Pentagon's ability to monitor actual Soviet activity. The military brass needed an immediate protocol to kill the public panic and regain control of their intelligence networks. Solving the scientific mystery of what was in the sky became secondary to securing the homeland. In January 1953, a CIA-backed group of scientists known as the Robertson Panel convened to assess the situation. They issued a clear directive. Project Blue Book was stripped of its scientific mandate and repurposed into a public relations outfit designed to debunk sightings. The Air Force launched an aggressive media campaign to feed the press mundane explanations for unexplainable events. Highly trained observers were suddenly told they had simply been looking at weather balloons, misidentified planets, or were suffering from mild mass hysteria. To enforce this new protocol internally, the military issued Air Force Regulation 200-2. This regulation gave the cover-up legal teeth. It strictly ordered airbase officers to publicly discuss UFO incidents only if they were judged to have been solved. Discussing an unsolved, classified case with an unauthorized person was now a crime, punishable by up to 2 years in military prison. By combining the stigma of public ridicule with the threat of federal prosecution, the government built an institutional blackout that silenced its most credible witnesses. While the public debunking continued, the military quietly commissioned the Battelle Memorial Institute to conduct a massive statistical audit of Project Blue Book's files, known as Special Report Number 14. This diagram compares the government's official stance against their own private data. The Air Force publicly claimed that only about 3% of cases were unexplained, but Battelle's rigorous analysis revealed a very different number. A full 22% of the reports were completely unexplainable. And the data revealed an even more damning pattern. When analysts filtered the cases by the quality of the observer, the percentage of unknowns didn't drop, it spiked. The better the witness, like veteran pilots or radar operators, the more likely the object defied explanation. No one felt this friction more than Dr. J. Allen Hynek, an astronomer and the chief scientific consultant for Project Blue Book. He was originally brought in as the ultimate skeptic, the man expected to dismiss sightings as swamp gas and bright stars. Over the years, Hynek reached a breaking point. He watched military administrators force logically absurd conclusions onto reports submitted by seasoned police officers and airmen, flatly rejecting any data that contradicted their prosaic theories. Spending years poring over those 701 highest-quality unexplained cases eventually eroded his skepticism. Hynek ultimately defected, evolving from the Air Force's premier debunker into their loudest, most credentialed internal critic. The military had engineered a polished public face for the project, but that narrative was internally contradicted by thousands of unexplained data points and the public defection of their own lead scientist. By the late 1960s, public criticism of Blue Book was mounting. In response, the Air Force funded the Condon Committee, positioning it as an objective scientific study. In reality, it provided the precise bureaucratic cover the Pentagon needed to finally kill the program. On December 17, 1969, Project Blue Book was officially terminated. Its thousands of case files were boxed up and shipped off to the archives at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama. The Air Force released its final, lasting verdict on the matter. They had found zero evidence of extraterrestrial vehicles, no proof of advanced technological principles, and no threat to national security. Yet that dismissal leaves a massive gap in the record. 701 files remain in the vault, each one a case that survived every attempt at debunking and still ended up labeled as unknown. Project Blue Book effectively provided the government with a permanent crisis management playbook for sightings that couldn't be militarily controlled. When an institution encounters a phenomenon it can neither explain nor control, it defaults to controlling the narrative. And the true nature of those 701 cases remains buried in the archives, waiting for